Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Newstos, and hope everybody's ready for some more Xbox Game Pass games as they just announced the second wave of games for the month of February. They just revealed 8 games heading over to Xbox Game Pass over the next couple of weeks, including a day one game that is actually one of the highest rated games for the entire year. This, however, does bring the grand total of Xbox Game Pass games for the month of February up to 18 games. That's just what Xbox Game Pass does, so we're going to go over that here in a little bit. And then also a big next generation update will be heading over to one of the most hyped up games of all time, being Cyberpunk 2077. Yes, after waiting for well over a year, Cyberpunk 2077 is finally going to get that next generation upgrade, but the question is, has the wait been worth it? So make sure to stay tuned for that one as well. To get things started off today, though, we're going to be talking about a Nintendo game that fans have been requesting for what feels like forever by this point, and that would be Mother 3. The Mother series is such a beloved franchise among a lot of fans out there. Some fans will even consider it to be an all-time great, but the thing is that Nintendo's never really treated the Mother series as good as what it probably deserves. I mean, these are really high-quality JRPGs, but outside of Earthbound, they've never really released the Mother games worldwide up on release. You did, of course, have Earthbound, which is actually the second Mother game, but as for the first one, it didn't get an official localization until 2015 for the Wii U Virtual Console. They named that one Earthbound Beginnings. So that right there was a big win for Mother fans, but as we all know, the Wii U wasn't exactly the most successful console in the world. These games need a real opportunity to be exposed to a bigger community, and that's where the Nintendo Switch comes in. And after many requests online, Nintendo finally did it. Earthbound Beginnings and Earthbound both recently released on Nintendo Switch Online. This has made a lot of fans out there very happy, as they should be, but there's still one game missing, and that would be Mother 3. Mother 3 released back in 2006 for the Game Boy Advance, and ever since then, fans have been asking Nintendo to give this game an official localization. And to this day, Nintendo has still not done that, which we'll get back to here in just a moment, but the good news here is that Nintendo fans are not alone. The Mother 3 producer recently did speak out about this topic, saying he would love to see Mother 3 head over to the United States and Europe. He then continues on to say that as a lover of games, I will continue to wait for Mother 3's worldwide release in English. So there you have it. The fans aren't completely alone on this. The producer of Mother 3 himself would actually like to see this happen as well. Though the big question is, does Nintendo want this to happen? And one of the reasons that they might not want to do this really just comes down to there are some things in Mother 3 that can be viewed as a little controversial, and I think Nintendo knows that, and I think that that ultimately is going to be a huge deciding factor on whether or not this game ever releases outside of Japan. I know a lot of fans would love to see an official localization, as this would bring it to a bigger audience, but because of that, I think that there's a real possibility that it just won't happen. For fans that do want to try Mother 3 out, though, even if this isn't official, there is a fan-made localization out there that's pretty well received, so always keep that in mind. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about Sifu. This is a game that released last week on February 8th for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC. And overall, this game was received relatively well. It's being reported as a good beat-em-up game, and it currently has an 80 overall score on the PlayStation 5. However, it seems like the enjoyment for this game is really going to rely on whether or not you like difficult games. Similar to the Dark Souls franchise, there's no difficulty settings here, and, well, it's just simply challenging. Now, some fans do like that, but then there's also another side that wants to see more difficulty settings in games like this. And well, for those fans out there, Slowcap is actually listening here, as they did confirm that more difficulty modes will be heading over to Sifu. This will include both an easier and a harder game mode. This has been a bit of a polarizing announcement, though, as some fans believe that this goes against what Sifu is trying to achieve. Sifu was intentionally developed as a challenging game, and by adding an easier game mode, some fans aren't particularly happy about that. And this is a topic that kind of pops up, it seems like, every single time a From Software game comes out. We're probably going to be talking about this in just a couple of weeks with Elden Ring. But yes, not everybody's particularly happy with this announcement. Now, what I'm going to say about this topic is that I do not have a problem with Slowcap adding more options to the game. If that's what they truly want to do, I think that that's okay, but at the same time, I do respect when a developer wants to challenge its audience. I've never been one of those people that has a problem with games like Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Bloodborne not having difficulty settings, because that's the experience that they want fans to have. It puts everybody on an even playing field, and I'm sure that that's probably easier for the developers to actually balance the game around. There are a lot of fans out there that seeks that type of challenge, and they want everybody to be on an even playing field because it makes completing the game feel even more rewarding. I, however, do understand that not everybody is seeking that type of challenge, and because of that, they won't buy games like that. And, well, that's perfectly okay as well. But in this situation, Sifu is going to be bringing more options to the game, and I think that that's perfectly fine. Again, if that's what the developer truly wants, I'm perfectly okay with it. But let me know what you think about all of this. Do you like when challenging games does not have difficulty options or not? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go and talk about Xbox Game Pass, though, as they announced 8 more games for the month of February, one of which is particularly very exciting. This is a day 1 release. But let's go and take a look at this nice little graphic here where they show all 8 games, including Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Lawn Mowing Simulator, Super Mega Baseball 3, Madden 22, Alice Madness Returns, Galactic Civilizations, RoboQuest, and then the big one here would be Total War Warhammer 3. Now, when you first look at this lineup, in terms of the console side of things, this can be a little underwhelming if you don't like sports. You do have Madden 22, though, coming over to Xbox Game Pass, which that's actually a pretty good one right there. Now that the Super Bowl has wrapped up and we're officially in the offseason, for those wanting some more NFL football, Madden 22 might be a nice little game to play here. The EA Play inclusion continues to pay off for Xbox Game Pass. But then outside of that, you have Lawn Mowing Simulator. Now, if you want to mow some lawns, that might be an interesting one as well. But it does seem like the big winner here for the second half of February will be you PC Game Pass subscribers, with a couple of nice inclusions. You do have Alice Madness Returns here, which has always been well received from fans, and this one will be coming over to Xbox Game Pass on February 28th. This does take Alice into a nightmarish wonderland where Alice must face the demons that haunt her visions. It is an interesting take on Wonderland, and if you haven't played this one before, this is something that you might want to check out. Again, it releases on February 28th. But the big one here that really stands out would be Total War Warhammer 3. This is actually a much bigger release on PC than fans might realize, but the Total War Warhammer games, they do have quite a fan following over on PC, and Warhammer 3 will be launching directly into PC Game Pass on February 17th. And this is the good part, because reviews are starting to roll out for this game, and it currently is one of the best rated games for the year of 2022 so far, with an 88 overall score on Metacritic. I believe this actually makes it the best rated Total War Warhammer game, and it is being described as just one of the better strategy games in recent memory. I am hearing that it is a story-driven experience that Creative Assembly did a very good job with. The gameplay is absolutely excellent, and if you like strategy games, then it is looking like Total War Warhammer 3 is a must-play experience. And the fact that this is launching directly into PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, this is a really nice inclusion here. And maybe in the past you've been a little on the fence when it comes to these strategy games, and if that is the case, that's exactly what Xbox Game Pass in general excels at. It can help you get into these new genres, and it sounds like Total War Warhammer 3 might be a really good one to jump into. So if you have been hesitant on this genre in the past, you might want to go check out Total War Warhammer 3 when it launches directly into PC Game Pass on February 17th. Overall, though, it does look like PC Game Pass in specific is having a pretty good lineup of games here for the second half of February. Next up, let's go and talk about Cyberpunk 2077. It's been a little while since we've gotten to talk about this game, as this at one point was one of the most hyped up games probably of all time. Some people would even say that this game was a little overhyped. It did launch to a lot of different issues in terms of technical issues. There was a bunch of bugs, and it just seemed like that they weren't able to deliver on several promises that they made with Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, it even got so bad that PlayStation decided to take this game off the PlayStation Store, as they were getting a ton of requests for refunds when it comes to this game. So this was probably one of the messiest launches I have ever seen for a big AAA game of this caliber. Quite frankly, it just did not meet expectations because of all the different issues that it had. But since then, CD Projekt Red has vowed to fix this game, and we knew that it was eventually going to head over to these next generation consoles. And after being out for more than a year, finally, Cyberpunk 2077 is getting that big update, including the highly anticipated next generation version. And the cool thing is that it is actually releasing today. You will be able to upgrade Cyberpunk 2077 completely free on the Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5 if you already own the game. It's always nice when you get these free upgrades, so that's definitely a very welcome addition. But what does this upgrade actually include? Well, it actually does include quite a bit, both in terms of gameplay and graphical features. First, we will kind of take a look at the different features that these next generation consoles will come with, which includes ray tracing features, 4K resolution graphics with dynamic scaling, faster load times, and other visual and technical improvements. Now, per usual, you do have different graphical settings here, one being a performance game mode, which includes 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, which I think most people will probably play at, but you do also have a ray tracing mode, which includes 4K resolution at 30 frames per second. Now, I will say when it comes to ray tracing, this game might actually shine here because of all of the different lighting effects that Cyberpunk 2077 has. It might actually look really good, but you do also have to sacrifice frame rate, which that just all kind of depends on you. Now, something to keep in mind here, though, is that for the Xbox Series S version, it will run at a lower resolution, being 1440p at 30 frames per second, so do keep that in mind. This update does, however, include several other changes, which looks to significantly improve the gameplay overall. This includes improving NPC AI to make the world overall more realistic. You can now customize your character after the intro. You will also be able to customize your apartment now. It has improved driving. They reworked perk trees to better balance the game, and they also made relationships more intimate. These are all very welcome and nice additions, but is this enough to bring fans back to Cyberpunk 2077? And I would say for fans that have already played this game, it might not be, but this definitely moves the game into the right direction. And if you haven't jumped into Cyberpunk 2077 yet, it sounds like it will be more worth it. Because the thing about Cyberpunk 2077 is it was not a bad game. I played through this on the Xbox Series X. I didn't really run into a lot of the issues that other people did, and I can honestly say I think it was a pretty good game. I don't know if it reached its lofty expectations or anything like that, which would have been hard considering how hyped this game was, but without all the technical issues and bugs, there was a good game here. And now that they've gotten a lot of that fixed up and they've improved some of the different gameplay features, if you haven't already played this game, it might now be worth it. It's just a shame that the majority of people that's likely already played it just didn't have that experience right out of the gate. I really think that this game is such a prime example of why you do not rush games out, because again, there was a good game here, but it was just hampered by all of the different issues that it had. And you know, now that they have fixed the game, that's great and all, but is it a little too late? And I think that that is the big question here. Let me know what you think about all this, though. Are you going to jump back into Cyberpunk 2077, or are you done with it? And if you haven't already bought this game, will you now that they have fixed the game, or fixed a lot of the game in general? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, and of course there has been a big controversy as of recent about Sony censoring games like Martha is Dead. Now, we have seen Sony censor a lot of games in recent years, but censoring Martha is Dead seems to have made much of the community very, very upset. So I wanted to ask you all, what do you think of Sony censoring games like Martha is Dead for PlayStation? And, well, yeah, if you look here, most of you do not like this. 85% of you said, I don't like it, while only 4% of you said, I think it's needed. So, yeah, I think this is very telling on the whole situation, and I think this is really just kind of boils down to player choice. Now, I've kind of read into what's being censored here, and I don't want to talk about it because of different spoiler reasons, but it does sound gruesome and brutal, and it definitely sounds like a game that I would not play myself, but at the same time, I feel like you should have the choice on whether you want to play a game like that or not. Sony is completely taking it out of your hands, and I think that that is the big problem here. If Sony wants developers to modify their experience, something that they could ask developers to do is offer that option when you start up the game. Maybe you could have a modified version alongside the original experience that the developer had intended. I think that that would be a nice workaround, but again, they just completely take it out of your hands. And I think if Sony is really going to be upset about this, they need to maybe look at themselves a little bit here as well, because again, as I pointed out yesterday, you take a look at something like The Last of Us Part 2, there was some things in that game that could leave players a little uncomfortable. So it does feel like they're being a little hypocritical about this topic, but nonetheless, it does seem like you all very much disagree with Sony in this situation. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.